Hello, this is Brad Beal from AMS Galaxy USA with your tip of the month. This month we are going to be looking at an urban automatic calf feeder, and we're just going to go through a couple of interesting tips to help you be as successful as possible. So right now, tip number one, make sure that when you're mixing milk replacer and whole milk or whatever combination of nutrition you're doing, that you're mixing according to the proper temperature according to the label of your milk replacer. So just before this video, I grabbed my milk replacer label, and right in the upper right hand corner it has mixing instructions, and it says to properly mix this milk replacer we need to have a 110 minimum, 110 degrees Fahrenheit minimum. So it is really important that the feeding temperature setting of the feeder is set so the water is hot enough to properly dissolve and mix the milk replacer that you're using. So I'm going to show you how that works right now. We're going to click on the feeder setup menu down here at the bottom, and the temperature here on our feeder is set to 43 degrees mixing temperature, and that's the proper temperature to match the 110 minimum. So there's your tip. If your milk replacer has a minimum temperature that's higher than the feeder, so the maximum on the feeder is 45 degrees C, I would suggest you look into a different milk replacer that is more friendly and suitable for an auto feeder. And that is it for that tip. Next, we're going to go to tip number two. Tip number two is make sure that you have two-phase cleaning turned on. So two-phase cleaning can be seen in this same settings menu for the feeder, but under concentration of detergents. And you can open those settings, and you're going to make sure this checkbox right here, two-phase cleaning, is turned on. And you're going to want to make sure the ratio is set at 1:4. This makes sure that we use the special feature that does a full CIP cleaning of the feeder, starting with a detergent wash and then rinse, and then followed by an acid wash. This is the best way to have the highest level of hygiene in your Alma Pro feeder. Tip number three for today is transition calves should be put on the same ration, same feeding ration that they're going to be using prior to getting moved from the individual hutches onto the Alma Pro. And we do this and suggest we do this by using the bucket mode here, which is this button right here where I have my mouse shown. And this is how we can fill bottles with the Alma Pro. They're filled at the exact temperature and the correct amount, and allows those calves at least 2 days before transitioning to the pen to have the correct ration to be on the same milk replacer, so there's fewer changes in the calf's life as they move from the individual hutches to the feeder. There we go. That's tip number three. And here comes tip number four. If you have a hygiene station connected to the feeder, you want to make sure those settings are turned on, and you also want to make sure that the disinfectant spray time is long enough and matches the disinfectant that you're going to use. So to get to those settings, again, we're going to click on the feeder menu down here at the bottom, and then we are going to look at nipple rinsing times, where we have settings, and we want to make sure that it's turned on there, or the nipple rinsing settings, and we can turn that on as well and adjust when we're going to rinse after each number of animals. So those settings are really important. Make sure they are set up and aligned with the disinfectant that you're using. And lastly, tip number five. This is regarding how we're actually mixing milk replacer on the feeder. And tip number five is we strongly suggest that you mix according to direct measure. And so back at the settings for the feeder, there is a mixing settings button, which is the third one down, mixing water inlet. And on the settings screen here, we have two choices. We can mix according to calibration, which is the water calibration, and this is a time-based setting, or we can mix according to direct measure. And mixing according to direct measure takes a little bit more time, but it takes out the variable of varying water pressure and flow rates coming from the farm's water supply. This will give you more accurate and more consistent rations for your calves. So there we are, 5 tips for today on the Urban Alma Pro. Thanks so much for your time and have a great day.